Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. I'm En Fuego here, and I welcome you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment, for a rapido fuego review of a recent Lionsgate feature that just hit home release. This isn't one that I necessarily think would have done more beyond a very small, limited theatrical, similar to The Quarry, which had Michael Shannon, that I enjoyed and, appreciated, but didn't love. And I'm kind of in a similar boat about this one, the new Mel Gibson, Emile Hirsch, and Kate Bosworth film that is entitled Force of Nature, not to be confused with Forces of Nature, that very painfully paired Ben Affleck with, chick from Speed, Sandra Bullock. Why did it take me a moment to remember that? But yeah, so this is one where I believe it's Costa Rica, if I remember correctly, where it's taking place. And there is this nasty storm that is rolling through, and Emile Hirsch and his partner, who is a Hispanic native of Costa Rica. Well, it's either Costa Rica or Dominican Republic, and I watched this a few days ago now before, but bottom line, it's U.S. province, I believe is the proper terminology for that sort of place, but affiliated but not part of the 50 states. Anyway, tons of American citizens down there and lots of locals, and with this raging storm about to just go through and crush, Emile Hirsch and his partner are trying to evacuate people who are stubbornly attempting to stay and putting their lives in great danger in the process. And so they get into this weird little kind of altercation situation with this black dude who is butting heads with this Hispanic local, because black dude is trying to stockpile probably 20-30 pounds of meat. And yeah, when you have this disaster about to happen and somebody is stockpiling all the protein, it's kind of a dick move. And so there's something that goes down between them, and then Hirsch and his partner are supposed to show up on the scene, which they do, and they're like, okay, do we take him into custody? Dude who he got in the fight with over this meat didn't want to press charges. He just wanted some meat for his kid to make some burgers and whatnot. So they take this guy with, and they immediately, they're not being super dick cops like you would expect, although Emile Hirsch is kind of playing one to a degree, but you start to realize rather quickly he's got this troubled past, because at the beginning of the film he's ready to shoot himself in the mouth. So it does start kind of dark, and you can tell that, yeah, he's being a dick, but he's, he could be much worse. And if there's anything behind this sort of negativity and this sort of attitude, yeah, it's because of the fact that he had some shizzle go down that is still lingering and affecting him, hence his attitude. But it could be far worse, especially with, what's going on with law enforcement right now, without getting too into all of that. But yeah, so take dude into temporary custody, and he's like, I have to go and, check on my animal or something to that degree. And it's unbeknownst to us what this particular animal is, but it does have something that ties in directly with the amount of meat that he was trying to bring through. And so, yeah, they go to his apartment complex for him to check on some stuff before he's actually brought in, which is obviously very nice of the officers to, as opposed to taking him directly in, to let him go to his apartment before this storm hits and they actually take him down to the precincts. But yeah, in the process of that, they're like, well, might as well actually do some cop work. And whereas Hirsch is being very lazy and lackadaisical and stuff, his partner wants to transfer to a different district with more action, and so she is like, get go, just very take charge, and wants to check on everybody, see who is still left and holding out in this particular apartment complex. And that's where we are introduced to Mel Gibson and his daughter, played by Kate Bosworth. And Gibson, for better or for worse, and I know he has pissed off a lot of people with some of his hijinks in the last number of years, but the dude can still act, and there's certain attitudes that are obviously terrible and that I do not respect or condone, but there are also instances where I try to separate the person from the performance. And Mel Gibson is somebody that I have been watching since I was a kid in the 80s, and whether it's Braveheart or Ransom being some very big things in the 90s, I've always appreciated his talents both as a director and as an on-screen performer. Yeah, he may be a piece of shit in real life, but as far as the thespian goes, and as far as, Kevin Spacey's a terrible person too, but I draw the line situation by situation with, boycotting a performer of any kind when it comes to their own attitudes, personal politics, and, you know, terrible behind-the-scenes stuff, okay? So if you do, respect. I don't always do that. Personal opinion, once again. But Gibson's good in this, you know? He's this older, you know, all kinds of different medical problems, guy who was on the force down there for quite a while, and he recognizes Emile Hirsch's character and that past that I mentioned already, and then at the same time, he's also, you know, just, he's still rough around the edges and still, like, you know, ready to take on whatever situation, and yeah, just based on the extent of his experience and connections with the local law enforcement there, that Emile Hirsch's young, aspiring Hispanic lady, that this awesome Latina who really wants to take charge and be a badass cop herself, yeah, she's constantly badgering him early on in the film, like, hey, do you have any connections? Can you give me a recommendation? Can you help me get into, you know, some more action in one of these different districts, and so on. And so yeah, there's that interesting dynamic, and at this point we have a split off sort of situation that goes down with you know, Bosworth splitting off with Emile Hirsch's character, and they've got some interesting chemistry, and then you've got Gibson and you know, Hirsch's woman that he has been assigned to this you know, disaster protocol stuff with. And so yeah, it's well acted. It really is, and it quickly turns into one of these, it's kind of on the stereotypical side, crime thriller-y sort of thing. So you initially think, oh, it's going to be kind of disaster-y, but the thing is, there are these, like, I don't even know if they would call them cartel in this particular, you know, like Caribbean type area. I think it's considered the Caribbean, Costa Rica. But yeah, these real hard-edged, badass Hispanic dudes, these like local gangster types, they just forge their way into this complex because they are trying to retrieve something that one of the residents has. It's something very valuable, and it's something that this elusive and secretive resident has kept secret. These guys have caught wind of it, and they're trying to get it by any means necessary, including killing of each other in certain situations and of any witnesses or, you know, whoever could just, you know, break the secret of all the ill shizzle that they are doing. And in turn, they butt heads with Gibson and Hirsch's woman he's been assigned with, and in turn, Emile Hirsch and Kate Bosworth. And that's really about the extent of what I can say. It's, you know, the director of this is nobody of massive note. I think the biggest film that he had done, it's Mike Polish, I think, Polish, something like that. Anyway, biggest thing he had probably done previously was The Astronaut Farmer, I think it was called, with Billy Bob Thornton. And yeah, the writer, I mean, just has a few short credits to his name on IMDb, but yeah, this is a first feature for that writer. And so, I mean, this is nothing that's going to knock your socks off, but it is still pretty well directed, and all of the rain sequences and some of the flooding that we have, action sequences, despite not really bringing anything too impressive or crazy cool to the table, I mean, they're still well shot and pretty engaging, and this is what, if it came out, it's kind of a throwback in some ways to those, you know, 80s and 90s action pictures that we really don't get a lot of. This is like the equivalent of like Eraser for Arnold or something like that, or maybe a Collateral Damage. I actually really like Eraser. Why am I talking shit about Eraser? I love that movie. But yeah, it's like a B-, C+ sort of level of the sort of action vehicle you would see a Gibson or, you know, a Schwarzenegger or a Stallone or a Van Damme or, you know, all of those big action-centric peeps that did so much work in those 2 decades. This is kind of a throwback to that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, well, it may be kind of by the books in the setup and some of the action. The setting is what makes it distinctive, and the great chemistry amongst the cast. That's something else that, you know, and I've always dug Emile Hirsch, man. I mean, going all the way back to like Girl Next Door, and I even like Speed Racer, you know, so I don't know. I've always dug the dude, and he's one of those actors that I respect, and I'll watching just about anything. So yes, it's way more expensive on VOD. I think it's like $6 on VOD. I would recommend going and hitting up a Redbox where you can actually get this for like less, like $2, I think, including tax. That's what I did. That's how I checked it out. And if I'm gonna grade this, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Actually, this is a bueno movie. It's nothing great, nothing that's gonna like impress the hell out of you. But if you're kind of sick of all the streaming services and the many things that we have to watch there, and you're starting to run out of stuff. And if you still can stomach Gibson, despite some of his awful antics behind the scenes, and especially if you like Bosworth, man, I mean, I've really liked a lot of the stuff. She had this kind of dystopian-ish post-apocalyptic film that she did with, I forget the name of the actor, but he was in Everybody Wants Some, and he's also the new Superman. In any event, since the Domestics, maybe, I think it was called. But anyway, Bosworth is a great actress in her own right, and everybody, especially when you're trying to peel back the reveal of what is the black dude's weird pet, and also what is like, who is this art collector person, and what exactly do they have, that's where the script actually had a little bit of just unexpected nuance. And so that's why this goes from what probably would have been like a 2 to 2.5 stars to a 3, you know? And so yeah, this is a bueno film, 3 out of 5. Extend grande gracias and Jaime En Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube, where I cover everything from art house, smaller indie stuff, to geeking out with my Star Wars and just about everything in between. All that I do not cover here is of the spooktacular variety. The Scarific, which if you want to check that stuff out, it's at youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. That is the bigger destination that I'm a part of, and trailer reactions, reviews of film, television, comics. I do a weekly Stephen King show. Also unboxings, video game Let's Plays. I mean, a true horrific variety show, which is what we strive to do. But whereas that's almost 34,000 subscribers, I have just a little over 1,000 here. So a like, a share, and a subscribe means a hell of a lot to me, especially on my little side channel here. So, Enfuego, y'all have been rad status, and until the real of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, sin amigos, constant readers and viewers alike, because I cover a little bit of both here. Say thank you, and I hope that we share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, stay home, watch more movies, and yeah, I still like Old Gibby.